She moved her head.
So if I'm honest, there are times it's very hard to trust. There are times when the world is chaos and I can't see a way forward. And trusting God in those moments, like it sounds like a good thing to me, and I know in my heart it's what I'm supposed to do. But because of that thing, that moment, I find that I want to sit down and cry more than I want to get up and go. And today, especially, last night at 11 o'clock, my phone rang. It was one of my cousins calling to tell me that a younger cousin had killed a man and had then taken his own life. So I called my granny, because y'all know how I am about granny. Called granny to see if she was okay. Granny's like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm like, are you sure? Yeah, I'm okay. And I was like, all right, well, I'll come out there if you want me to. No, I'm okay. But you better pray for your Aunt Sarah. I was up all night. And I told Granny, I said, Granny, I can't cancel church. It's too late. There's nobody I can get. There's nobody that can fill in for me. And she's like, it's okay. You can do it. I'm like, I'm glad you trust. Because I don't. So I ask you to pray for my family. Because if I am struggling and I wasn't as close to him as other people were, then they are struggling. And they need God's peace. And they need whatever comfort God can provide. Sorry I threw that on us, but I just wanted to be real and say sometimes it is hard to trust God. It's hard to trust that the next steps are going to be okay. And I think it's okay to admit that. I think it's okay to stand face to face with Holy and say, I don't know what you're doing. I don't understand any of this. But here I am. Speak what's true to me. So let's go to God in prayer. God, I thank you for these people. I thank you for their hearts. I thank you for the ways they come in seeking, expecting your Spirit to be here to greet them. I thank you for the way that we share our stories and we're all connected and we all grieve together and we all heal together. Because that's how it's supposed to be. And no matter how bumpy today might get, due to my lack of sleep and my inability to focus, let your Spirit be what speaks the most to them. Let your Spirit minister. It's all about you. And I don't want it if you're not in it. So let your Spirit fall. In your many names we pray. Amen. Amen. So, let me catch y'all up. What's on the screen? I am. And what goes in it? A member. Woo, look at y'all. So, we've been doing a series called I Am a Member. Week 1, we talked about how we have to be a functioning member. And sometimes functioning is hard. But we defined functioning as we had to be contributing. We had to be working. Week 2 was about unity and how we keep unity. And we talked about how the two things that destroy unity in a church are gossip and unforgiveness. Now, let's just go on and address the big thing that didn't get addressed last week. So I did forget to circle back during that sermon and address abuse. And a lot of people pushed back. How dare you say I have to forgive people that abuse me and blah, 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 blah. And it went on and on and on and on. And like 3 days later, I'm still answering questions. So let me be clear. When you follow Jesus, you live the way Jesus lived. And Jesus forgave. So we forgive. And in relationships, or no matter what kinds, friendships, intimate relationships, family relationships, whatever, there can be moments where people take you for granted. There can be moments where they abuse you. You do have to have boundaries. And it's okay to have boundaries. And you should enforce your boundaries. And you should not let your abusers continue to abuse you. Because God wants all of us to be whole and healthy and happy. So I just wanted to address that because I had some questions last week. This week we're moving on. So we have to be functioning, we have to be unifying, and guess what this week says? It's another one that y'all toes are going to get beat up on. But let's go through our pledge real quick. Is it up there, Ash? There we go. As a functioning church member, I will give. I will serve. I will minister. I will evangelize. I will study. I'm going to ask y'all one day. It's going to be pop quiz. Did you study? I will seek to be a blessing to others. I will remember that if one part hurts, every part is involved in the hurt and the healing. Next slide. I will seek to be a source of unity in my church. There are no perfect people. This means I am not perfect either. I will not be a source of gossip or dissension. I will do all I can to help keep the church in unity. And everybody walked out with our feet hurt. We went out like this. Don't lie. Y'all know we did. So this week, Mark chapter 9, verse 35. The disciples had been walking along and they had been having a private conversation that they thought Jesus couldn't hear. Jesus heard. Jesus says, "What were you talking about?" And they did not want to say. Because what they had been talking about is which one of them was the best. Which one of them was the greatest. So in Mark chapter 9, verse 35, Jesus tells them, if anyone wants to be first, they must be last and servant of all. So the next step in this I am a member is we have to serve. The word servant appears 57 times in the New Testament. 57 times. Serve appears 58 times. I think it might be a little bit important. Just a wee bit. And can you tell me what's the opposite of serving? Nothing? You ain't got nothing? Taking. And normally if you're a taker, what else do people say about you? You're selfish. You're self-centered. It's all about you. You don't care about nobody else. So they conducted a study. They went and talked to all these churches. They did a survey to identify. How do you identify the people in your church that you need to work with to get them on board? You know how you notice them? Y'all, this is going to be bumpy for real. Hold your toes. Pick your feet up. One of the first signs, worship wars. You know what those are? They fight over the music. The music ain't good enough. They don't play what I want them to play. I want them to play all the old stuff. Why they got to play all that new stuff? I don't want to go to church. Worship wars. Got to be my way. Music's got to be my way. Then not just the music. Then they move into the preaching. Well, you know, I really don't like how she talks. I don't like how she dresses. I don't like how she looks. I don't like how she says bad words sometimes. I don't like any of it. I don't want to go to church. Worship wars. The second one, attitudes of entitlement. Now, this one's rough. So way back in week 1, we talked about how there are country club memberships, and then there's being the member of God's church. And that for some reason, we have gotten them confused. So now, we look at this and go, membership has its privileges. No, baby, that's a credit card. That ain't got nothing to do with church. When you come through those doors and you're a member of this thing, you're supposed to be about serving other people. Giving of yourself to other people. Not seeing what all you can get and how fast you can get it and accumulate it. But we've gotten it mixed up. So attitudes of entitlement. So I'm a member and I should get what I want because I say so. That, okay? The third one, this one, they get more upset when you change something in the church than they do about the mess that the world is in. You try to talk to them about feeding the hungry, and they're like, yeah. But you put a coffee pot at the back of the church, oh my. Oh my, how dare you? How dare you put a coffee pot in the church? That kind of stuff. Where we just want our way. And it has to be our way. And if it's not our way, then guess what? Number 4. Anger and hostility. Yeah, because we didn't get our way. You didn't give me what I want. So you know what? I'm going to be mean to you now. I'm going to talk bad about you behind your back, break all the rules from last week where I ain't supposed to gossip. All that stuff. Anger and hostility. And this is the one that breaks my heart. Because we've been guilty of this here. I said that. So get ready. Evangelistic apathy. Let me explain. We don't share our faith on a regular basis. We don't talk about the goodness of God. We don't share with people the love that we've found and that changes us. We keep it all, it's all about us. It doesn't really extend anywhere. That's apathy. How can I see a hurting person and not say, you know what? I was there. I found God. God loves me. No matter what. No matter how big of a mess I am. And it won't feel like it fixes everything, but it will matter. How many do it? And if we're honest, here at Thrive, we have been guilty of being that. We might have hit a couple of the other ones somewhere along the way, but number 5 is the one that wrecks me the most. Is God good? Yes. Then why don't we say so? Why aren't we trying harder? Why aren't we sharing more? Why are we holding it all into us? And like it's, I'm not saying God's not a treasure. God is a treasure. But I mean, it's like we found the big old chunk of gold and that's ours. We ain't sharing with nobody. And then they walk through the door and we go, What sense does that make? And it all comes back to week 1. What did we learn in week 1? We are all connected. We can't all be feet. We can't all be hands. But we're all connected. And it takes all of us doing our jobs, functioning, for this to work. Then Paul, he's been our dude through the whole thing, right? Every letter, Paul's like, look, don't gossip, don't do this, don't do that. And yeah, you're supposed to be unifying, you're supposed to be functioning, and you're supposed to love everybody and forgive everybody. And we're like, Paul, I'm tired of you. Go sit down. Don't want to hear from you anymore. But guess who we have again this week? Paul. Philippians chapter 2, starting with verse 1, and I'll probably jump around a bit. If you've gotten anything at all out of following Christ, if his love has made any difference in your life, if being in a community of the Spirit means anything to you, if you have a heart, if you care, then do me a favor. Agree with each other. Love each other. Be deep-spirited friends. Don't push your way to the front. Don't sweet-talk your way to the top. Put yourself aside and help others get ahead. Don't be obsessed with getting your own advantage. Forget yourselves long enough to lend a helping hand. Think of yourselves the way Jesus thought of himself. A servant. A servant to all. He didn't claim special privileges. Instead, he lived a selfless, obedient life. Be like him. If you've gotten anything out of following Jesus, did you? Have you? Anybody got anything? Because y'all quiet. What you got out of it?
Peace. Really good family.
Peace. A really good family. Anybody else? Quiet today. Okay, that's fine. I'll stomp on your toes harder. It'll make you talk. If you've gotten anything out of this at all, do me a favor. Friends. You've gotten friends, yeah. You know it. You feel good. Do me a favor. And then what does it say? Act like it. Act like you've gotten something out of it. Share your joy. Share your wealth. Share all of the goodness that you have found by saying Jesus is the way. But if you ain't got nothing out of it, maybe let us introduce you. Maybe let us talk to you about who we know God to be, who we know Jesus to be, what we know that love to be able to do. Okay, what can that love do? It can break what? K-Dale, you asleep on me? Yep. K-Dale's asleep. You tell me. What can that love do? It can break every what?
Chain.
Every chain. Don't matter. Don't matter if I made the chain. Don't matter if you made it. Don't matter who made the chain. If I'm bound by something and I cry out to Jesus and I say, take this because I can't. Jesus is with me. And Jesus says, here, I'll take that. You take my love. I'll take that. You take my peace. I'll take that. You take my joy. I'm going to need Jesus to show up at my granny house today. But if you've gotten anything out of knowing Jesus, you have to be selfless. Is that not the example? And you have to share. And this evangelistic apathy, we got to get rid of that. That's got to go. We can't just sit here and just be happy it's just us. We have to show other people. We have to tell other people. And I ain't talking about that old school stuff where they go into a place like, we going to cast the demons at you and you going to be one of us. Not that. I'm talking about where you just love people. You don't have to get in debates. You don't have to tell them, oh, you got to convert. You don't have to do any of that. You have to love people. And to love people, you do the same thing Jesus did. You meet those people where they are. Guess what? They ain't always going to be here. They're going to be outside at the edges, in the margins. That's where Jesus went. The lepers weren't allowed into city limits. They was on the outskirts. Jesus looked at the city, looked at the lepers, looked at the city. I'm going to go over here. Every time, Jesus chose to go where people were, to meet them. And when he met them where they were, what else did he do? He met the need. He met their need every single time. All you got to do is love people. Because a lot of times, the biggest need is they don't know they're loved. They don't know anybody cares. My cousin, he didn't know. He was not a Christian. He didn't know anything about anything. He just thought life sucked and nobody cared about him. And guess what? I didn't tell him. I fell short. He messaged me a month ago to tell me how crappy his life was. I listened. And then I told him, dude, you've been having this issue for a while. You might want to kind of put some boundaries around that box. You might want to seek out some help. You might want to pray for peace. Because I pray for peace for you, for your whole family. But I stopped there, y'all. I didn't go another step and say, dude, how are you in this family and you don't know nothing about no Jesus? Like, he knows the stories. He knew the stories. He did not know that freeing love. He did not know that love that changes you. That can make you end up in positions you never thought you would be in. He didn't know that this love is enough. And that if you grab hold of this love, it's still hard, but you can find a way. Because you're not alone. And maybe part of serving, and maybe the most important part of serving others is that. Making sure they know you are loved no matter what. It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter what you do tomorrow. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It doesn't matter who you love. It doesn't matter how you love them. It doesn't matter what colors, what creeds. None of that. You are loved, and that love does not run, and it does not quit, and it is enough. Amen. That's what it means to serve. Instead of being all wrapped up in, I pay tithes here. They ought to play the music I want them to play. That preacher ought to tuck her shirt in like I told her. That's a for real thing. I'm just going, sorry for you, but that's a real thing. And no. See? The whole band untucked. We have to leave the selfishness. And we have to mean what we say. So like when we showed up at Spirituality on Tap, yeah. We didn't really get into too deep of anything, but everybody was like, hey, we kind of really didn't talk about anything spiritual. You know what you did? You were in community together. And do you know what you did as you sat there in community? You shared stories. Do you know what those stories were about? Your life. Well, and Muppets. I don't know how that happened, but... and the more you talked, guess what happened? The more you connected. Terry on the way home was like, I know more about Tom than I knew before. No, it wasn't bad. Because when we're in community, that's what we do. We share. So if it's okay to share our stories, the funny ones, why is it not okay to share the grief and the angst and say, can you help me tote this? Because it's too much. So this morning, after not sleeping all night, the first thing I did when I thought it was a decent hour is I grabbed my phone and I texted my friend Marcy. Are you coming to church today? I'm going to need help. Bless her heart, she woke up not feeling good. And I had already spilt why I might need her. And she's like, well, maybe I'll feel better. And Marcy showed up. And you know what Marcy did when she showed up? Marcy hugged me. We have to be present for one another. We have to show up. Is one person always going to be able to show up for everybody? No. But when we are given the opportunities, we have to step into them. And we have to say, I'm here for you. And I might not know a whole lot, because I do not know a whole lot. But I know that there is a love that changes things, that frees us. And that if we would just walk in that love and live in that light, we could change the world. And it starts by being selfless and serving others with all of our heart, with all of our soul, with all of our love, the same way Jesus did. Can you go to the pledge? This week's pledge. I will not let my church be about my preferences and desires. That is self-serving. I am a member of this body. I am to serve others. Jesus taught us how to love and serve. I will be like Jesus. I will love. I will serve. Say it with me. I will be like Jesus. I will love. I will serve. And all the people say, Amen.